Avoidant and narcissistic behaviors often look almost identical from the outside. Both can seem emotionally detached. Both can downplay or dismiss a partner's feelings. Both can come across as uncaring. And both tend to withdraw when conflict or vulnerability enters the picture. That's why people so often confuse the two. But the underlying motivations are very different. Avoidant attachment is driven by fear of dependence. The avoidant person learned early that closeness could lead to disappointment, rejection, or loss of control, so they manage relationships by keeping emotional distance. Narcissism, on the other hand, is driven by the need for superiority and validation. A narcissistic person maintains distance to protect their self-image and avoid feeling inferior. They're not afraid of closeness because it's overwhelming. They're afraid of closeness because it threatens their sense of dominance. In short, avoidance is defensive. Narcissism is self-enhancing. The big question is how you can tell the difference. Are you dating or married to an avoidant or a narcissist? Research on attachment and personality supports the idea that avoidant behavior and narcissism can overlap but aren't the same thing. Studies describe avoidant individuals as people who deactivate attachment needs. This means they suppress emotions and rely on themselves to stay in control. This behavior develops early, often as a response to caregivers who were dismissive, unavailable, or overly controlling. Narcissism is studied within personality psychology. According to a 2011 study, narcissism involves self-importance, entitlement, and a strong need for admiration. It can appear in two main forms: grandiose narcissism, which looks confident and dominant, and vulnerable narcissism, which looks defensive and easily wounded. A 2018 meta-analysis found a correlation between narcissism and insecure attachment, especially avoidant patterns. But correlation isn't causation. Avoidant attachment can coexist with narcissistic traits, but it doesn't automatically create them. Avoidance is about emotional safety. Narcissism is about maintaining status and control. The overlap comes from how both strategies manage vulnerability. Avoidance shut down to avoid rejection. Narcissists shut down to avoid shame. Narcissism, at its extreme, falls under personality disorders, specifically narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, in the DSM-5. That means it's a pervasive, stable pattern of personality functioning that affects nearly every area of life, including self-image, relationships, empathy, and behavior. Personality disorders are not momentary moods or habits. They're deeply ingrained ways of perceiving and relating that start early in life and remain fairly consistent. Traits include grandiosity, entitlement, lack of empathy, and a strong need for admiration or control. Avoidant attachment, on the other hand, is not a disorder. It's a relationship pattern, part of attachment theory, which describes how people behave emotionally in close relationships based on early experiences with caregivers. Avoidance isn't pathological by itself. It's an adaptive strategy that once kept the person safe from emotional pain or rejection. It's context-dependent because an avoidant might function perfectly well at work or with friends, but struggle with emotional closeness in a romantic relationship. Let's do a little behavior comparison. What confuses most people is that on the surface, avoidants and narcissists can act almost the same. But if you look closer, the intentions are completely different. Avoidant behaviors look like pulling away when things feel too close, shutting down emotionally during conflict, downplaying their own needs and yours, prioritizing independence over connection, avoiding deep conversations when emotions rise. These behaviors come from fear of rejection, of losing autonomy, of being judged for needing someone. Narcissistic behaviors look like seeking admiration or control, gaslighting or deflecting blame, lacking empathy even when calm, using affection strategically, reacting with anger or contempt when challenged. These behaviors come from ego because they are protecting their self-image and avoiding shame at all costs. So, while both avoidants and narcissists may seem cold or self-focused, the avoidant is protecting themselves. The narcissist is protecting their superiority. So, to put it more plainly, narcissism shapes who a person is across contexts, whereas avoidance shapes how a person relates in intimacy. Narcissism runs through the personality. Avoidance shows up mainly in relationships. There are a few questions you can ask to see what you're dealing with. 1. When they hurt you, do they ever circle back with real accountability? An avoidant might take time, but once they feel safe, they usually admit when they've been distant or unfair. A narcissist rarely does. They defend, deflect, or turn it back on you. 2. Do they ever show empathy when they're calm? Avoidants can, especially once the pressure is off. Narcissists usually can't. Their empathy turns on only when it benefits them. 3. How do they handle your boundaries? Avoidants respect distance. They might even prefer it. Narcissists resent it. They test or punish you for setting limits. 4. What happens when you stop chasing? An avoidant might slowly re-engage when they sense safety again. A narcissist often discards you or looks for a new source of validation. 5. Do they seem capable of growth? Avoidants can become more open with time, therapy, and consistency. Narcissists resist growth because self-reflection threatens the identity they've built. If you notice empathy, accountability, and slow but steady effort, you're likely dealing with avoidance, not narcissism. If you notice blame shifting, manipulation, and emotional indifference, that's potentially narcissism. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to My Avoidant X. You'll find free worksheets available in the channel description box.